Okay, great. So the question we asked, how are you doing?
Yeah. So I wanted to reply with that Ukrainian saying. This is how my grandmother felt, and 3 days later she was dead. And that is a joke, but I'm not doing well.
Okay.
I
Um,
also, I also kind of prepared the notes that I wanted to send to you. I mean,
Vera, your voice has changed. Is that recent since your flare-up attacks?
yeah, this is part of my signature attack, except that I'm not having a signature attack now, but um, I'm very close to it, so I might have it later. And
Okay.
I have been having that. Let me think. Can I can I take time
Do you
to
see the
say?
chat? You can just cut and paste in there if you like, or all right, here we are. Perfect.
Do you see this text over here?
Yeah. So let's start wherever you like to start.
Yeah. Let's just start from the beginning. You see this present December 15th appointment?
Yeah.
Okay, so how about you read it and then we'll just go and you ask me questions.
Okay. Goals. I want to understand, and this is different than the document you sent me. This is just an updated version.
Uh, Um, I wasn't ready with this document when I needed to send that to you, and I wasn't sure whether it was okay for me to put it the way.
Okay, so let's just go through it again. There's so much I'd like to understand, discuss with you about my case, and since we're limited in time, please let me know when the time is up. We'll pick up next appointment when we run out of time. Okay. Understand why my attempt to ketogenic diet fasting was not successful and brainstorm ways to achieve success in the future if still applicable. Okay. Number two, discuss practical implications of neurological examination and recent blood testing, how the results impact further testing options. Number three, understand the blood pressure data implications. Okay. Number four, figure out what other steps should be taken. Testing should be done, further investigate others. Okay. Refine the treatment supplement protocol. Okay. Number six, have my questions and concerns been addressed? Okay. What has been done? Attempt ketogenic diet. I want to mention again, I did feel better for the initial 2 to 3 weeks while on the ketogenic diet, having lived in my body for a lifetime. I knew I had to go slow and listen to its feedback, so I thought I did. I had considered fasting even before I saw you, but was not sure how my body would tolerate it. I appreciate your understanding of my need to slowly introduce fasting, of course. The first week I skipped my breakfast. The next week, both breakfast and lunch, but my headache increased, so I ate dinner. Third week, I fasted the whole day, and despite increased headache, malaise, and now I knew it was a mistake since for the first time it's been down spiral. But I thought I could outsmart my body if I do coffee enemas on that day of the fast. And then the following day, it didn't work. So that was my first day, last day of full day fasting. Okay. But I continued the ketogenic diet. I thought it was just a keto flu and I would finally reach the other bank. I did stop the diet when I realized that the flu, wherever it was more than I could endure, but still can't recover from rocking the boat. I found Dr. Drucker's 11 most common keto side effects and ordered his book, Fasting Transformation Keto Metabolic Breakthrough, to help me understand that during the initial adaptation phase of ketogenic diet, there's potential for HPA axis to become dysregulated. During its time, it'd be advantage to take precautions supporting HPA axis as best you can. So if one has adrenal fatigue, one should not attempt a keto diet. Okay. Typically, you should try incorporating a lower carb, high fat diet while using high quality MCT oil to assist the ketone production. But if you feel very sluggish for a longer time than a week, you should more carbs for very low glycemic energy strategies to support adrenal amount of sugar. Okay. I've been dealing with adrenal fatigue for a long time. There was a time when my blood test showed somewhat improved function, but I would appreciate it if we could evaluate the current HPA status or come up with a treatment protocol to strengthen it. Okay. Here's my adrenal fatigue history. Zone 7 adrenal fatigue, borderline DHEA. Yep, I remember all those from the workup. Low cortisol. Yep. Fitness, functioning physiological system, nerve express. Okay. Yeah. High cortisol. Yep. These were all in the case review. I remember all that. Yeah.
Mhm. So this is at the low, it go to the lowest level. This was after mold treatment with cholestyramine and then Marcon's protocol antibiotic.
Okay, let's keep going. Position analytical Dutch test.
Right.
Okay.
It was for like half a year or something that I was doing these hormones.
Okay.
Then I stopped. Cortisol went lower,
Yeah.
but the others are still good. And then 21, it all went down.
Okay. Electrolytes and minerals serve the vital function of regulating hydration, with supporting nerve connectivity, to get adaptation, minerals through urine interactions, regulations. Okay. Back in 19, I was given an IV, DC. I felt much better. I had felt very bad, 3.5 months of pregnancy. Nurse explained that I might have been dehydrated and IV was rehydrating, but when I asked for IV sometimes, okay. Keep going. Do you know if I'm essentially acid? Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think before we move to that blood?
Uh, if you get into like, listen, you may not be able to handle the fast right now, but getting into ketosis, there's some stress on your physiology and the cortisol and the things. And once you're in ketosis, that's when your adrenal glands can really recover. So when you get into ketosis, you actually have, no blood sugar fluctuations and so forth. There's some issues with your ketogenic diet that may be related to your TMAO levels on your blood tests and other things that we have to talk about. But you have to listen to your body. I agree with you. But it's not like, oh, you have an HPA axis dysfunction. Listen, every single person that's chronic has an HPA axis level that's off. It's not a big deal. Everyone's had the cortisol up and down some of the parts. Most people that go through keto adaptation will have some mineral imbalances and have to take some ketone salts and things to help them with that. So I don't think it's that major big of a deal so far. Now, you were able to stay in ketosis for, you said, like the first 2 or 3 weeks and felt better.
Yeah, this is when I felt
Yeah.
better.
So that's the key thing. So it seems like the fasting is what really puts you over the edge. And that just tells us you don't have enough keto adaptation yet. You don't have the ability to use fuel your body fat for energy yet. So we just need to stop fasting altogether.
I did, yeah.
But it's not, I mean, as far as the clinical strategy goes. Okay. Um, go through, is there anything else or is this the main gist of it?
No, I do want to stop here because this is how it has been going for me for a long time. Whatever treatment I attempt,
Mhm.
this is the result. I get so much worse. I stop doing it. And I believe it is critical that I understand why I get these reactions. And I actually
Okay. Can you let's see, let's have you I'm gonna I'm gonna pull up my documents to answer your questions and go through it here. So let's have you end this one here. Okay. So let's go over the clinical strategies, and we're kind of stuck with phase one here with ketosis, right? And then get into fasting state. So ultimately, we're trying to reduce your brain inflammation, get your microvascular disease healthier, get your blood vessels healthier, and see if we can look at this from an ongoing neuroinflammation microvascular disease point of view. Okay. So we wanted you to get into ketosis. You were able to get into ketosis. We wanted you to increase your ketone levels. Everything seemed fine. The first 2 to 3 weeks, you said you were doing good. It's when you started the fast where things went downhill. Correct? Okay. So the fast was too much for you. You physiologically couldn't handle it. It's you weren't having enough keto adaptation. There's trial and error with any kind of treatment protocol. How you respond or don't respond lets us know what the next step is. You're absolutely not ready for fasting, which means we have to wait, and we may never be able to do it. I don't know. We'll have to see. It just depends on what your physiology can take. So it's okay. It's no problem whatsoever. Okay. Now that's when we did the treatment plan. That's all phase one. That's the whole ketone issue here. Okay. Did you remove all sources of dairy from your diet? Okay. Supplement wise, you're doing all this?
um we'll need to talk about that. I wasn't sure about near O2
Okay.
because what I need to understand is, do I have an autoimmune disease? Because if I do, I need to stay on autoimmune diet, right? And I had been on that diet for quite a while, and that means I wasn't doing nightshades. And there is cayenne pepper in
Yeah.
this supplement. So here comes the question. Should we be taking it? Is there enough to trigger me to complicate things? So I didn't go ahead with that one. I did buy it, and that's when I saw
Okay.
that.
Fair enough. How about the other stuff?
Um, I have been doing the rest.
Okay.
I was increasing fish oils slowly because again there was a question about my omega 3 6 ratio. And the previous test showed too much omega 3s, way too much, not enough omega 6. That's why I asked you for this test. I
Yeah.
really
We'll go over the results together. Okay. And then heart rate monitor. And did you engage in any exercise? Were you able to do that?
I was doing dancing, stretching.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Did you decide to work with someone for HRT?
yeah. I signed up for the program with Dr. Sands. I do not know whether you know her, but
Yeah.
she has written a book on email.
Okay. Right. So this is the stuff you sent me, ketogenic diet fasting. Okay. So just before we move any further, Vera, it seems like the biggest concern you have is just how you're feeling and the diet and fasting and so forth. It just seems like the diet seemed okay. It was the fasting that really threw you off. Am I correct with that?
This is my perception. I
Okay.
cannot.
I think you're right. That does happen to some people. And it just lets us know they don't have enough adaptation and the ability to be efficient in a fasting state yet. And that's okay.
I do want to point out that hydrate variability last test that showed that my adaptability is at the lowest end.
Oh,
So this is what you're talking about.
no. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Like when you do this heart rate
Oh,
variability,
oh, yeah, all right. Your heart rate variability. Okay.
and it shows there how you
Yeah, yeah.
adapt to whatever changes in your environment, and it showed that it was at the lowest level.
Okay. It's okay. You just have to do whatever your levels are. It's okay. Um, all right. Let me go over your test results really. Before we go anywhere else, let's go over your test results and then let's go back to your symptoms and go from there. Okay. Um, Listen, you're going to have shitty days ongoing for a long, long time. And there's not going to be any intervention that nearly changes that. And you're going to have flare ups and you're still going to have your attacks for quite a bit of time. And that's just what's expected. So, you're gonna have attacks during any kind of intervention or treatment plan we put together for you for some period of time. Doesn't mean the protocol is wrong or something. However, if you totally feel exhausted and fall apart with fasting, and you feel like you're not recovering, that's a really red flag. Okay, so
Like for me is how bad my cognitive function got, because it's like very perceptible, and I do understand that there is neurogenesis
yeah,
as we are grown up, but I obviously suspect that the level of going down the hill is much faster than any possible neuroregeneration.
I think you're right. I think when you look at anything, you're looking at how fast things are breaking down versus recovery. I think this is way too fast, and we're not even having a recovery yet. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Okay. So, Vera, I say this to you because I want you to just know it's a process. Like, don't get discouraged. Like, it's massaging through and figuring out what your body can and cannot respond through, and listening to things and seeing how things change and observing and trying to figure out the process that improves you.
I understand that.
So it's okay. Um, Now, on your blood test, this is the blood test you did. We found your blood sugar levels were fine. You didn't have any signs of like diabetes or really any abnormal blood sugar levels. This part of the report here, the metabolic profile, which is like uric acid, BUN, creatinine, all the way down to here is just all normal. It means you don't have any signs of organ disease or kidney disease or serious pathology, nothing that we're really worried about, no major diseases or indicated showing up there. Your total cholesterol is 241. Your LDL cholesterol is 158. And your HDL cholesterol is actually quite high, 76. So your total cholesterol itself is outside the lab range, but your HDL cholesterol, they call it the good cholesterol because it takes cholesterol from your arteries to your liver, so it doesn't get the ability to get plaque.
I'm sorry. I
Go ahead.
want to hear whether this high cholesterol is due to me doing this high fat diet and taking MCT oils for a while, because I had been doing that before. Like you said, when you saw my diet initially, you said I was pretty close to ketogenic diet.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so most people, when they go on a ketogenic diet, their insulin levels get lower and their lipid panels improve. And even in large studies they've done in ketogenic diets, they actually find that the lipid panels change in the good way, not the bad way. There are some people for genetic uniquenesses that can have the lipids go higher. However, when we look at your lipids, your HDL lipids are very high. And when you look at cardiovascular risk from a cholesterol model by itself, you have to look at ratios. And when you look at your total cholesterol HDL ratio, you're 3.2, so you're half the average risk. Your LDL HDL ratio is 2.1, so it's no risk there at all. So we're not seeing this increased risk from a cholesterol model because your good lipoprotein HDL is also high. Okay, and that's how lipid panels should be read. They shouldn't be read by one number. They should be read by ratios, good and bad, high risk, low risk, and kind of see how things are. So I'm not too worried about that, to be honest with you. I don't like this. Homocysteine is 11.9. Now, 11.9 is still within the lab range, but homocysteine is very destructive to blood vessels.
I understand this part, and it has been in this range last time. I think it was even 13 something.
Yeah.
It has never been at 7 and beyond as it should be. And I do have the methylation SNPs. I am heterozygous for both 677, I think, and 1298. So I do suspect that my methylation is off and I need support there, except I cannot take that support. And I do not know why. I do not understand.
You can't take any methylation support?
I react to that too.
How do you react?
Just the same way, just my symptoms get aggravated, like with everything else, and that's why I say it is really critical. We understand it puts me in that tailspin.
Okay, your case is getting very complicated beyond what I can accomplish like right now. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you a list of things to email me when you're able to, okay? Can you email me the exact product name of methyl donors you've been taking, you've been having reactions to?
I'm not sure I can do that because it has been I do not know, maybe a decade ago.
Okay, so let me put it a different way. Mm-hmm. Definitely want this lower. Yep. Do you want to try to take something, or do you want to assume you're cursed for life and can never take anything?
No, I need to move forward, and I am willing to try it.
Okay. So we have to figure out a way to support your methylation. I'm not even sure what the exact new protocol is going to be, but based on your blood test, we want to make sure your blood vessels are as healthy as possible. Okay. And right now, we want to get this homocysteine a little bit lower. We want to get it below double digits. Okay, so that's number one. If we look at the rest of your panel here, your thyroid panel, your TSH is within normal reference ranges. Your thyroid levels are all within normal reference ranges. Nothing too significant here. Your vitamin D levels are within normal. We could likely have them a little bit higher, but that's not our biggest concern right now. We're very concerned about fibrinogen, which is something that can cause blood clots. When it's elevated, those levels are normal. And then we look at your white blood cells. Your white blood cells are nice and healthy. Your red blood cells are normal, but starting to, yeah, actually they're in the lower end of normal, but they're still fine. You had a little bit of white blood cells, trace amounts show up in your urine. That's no big deal. There's no other signs of anything was abnormal. And then we looked at your immune panel to see if there's any underlying infections or pathogens. Sometimes infections or pathogens can continue to damage blood vessels. And when we see like an underlying pathogen that's not been identified yet, we can still see the immune system have like helper cells go up, suppressor cells go up. It lets us know there's some kind of underlying infection there. This is a very sensitive test for that. We're not seeing any of that because part of this blood panel workup was trying to find all the different mechanisms that may impact your blood vessel health. And one of them was the pathogen screen, and this is telling us that's okay. All right.
Let me ask you here. So, are you saying that that Epstein-Barr or that whatever implicated line, it is not an issue?
No. If you have Epstein-Barr, it can reactivate, but if it reactivated, we're going to see changes for sure in these markers.
Okay.
And if you had like a underlying viral pathogen unrelated to Epstein-Barr that was there, if it was triggering an immune response, these numbers would change. Okay. A common cold would make these numbers look crazy. Like if you had just a common cold, this panel would look terrible. So, and if you had a chronic active viral infection, it would be very clear to see. So this is telling us right now, we're not going down that pathway for your blood vessel health. We can move on to the other things that are more relevant. Okay. Your S100B is normal. This is a marker we look for. It indicates if there's any blood-brain barrier permeability. Just one of the things we wanted to make sure was intact with you, that it wasn't something to worry about and focus energy into. Okay.
And
now,
this test also showed that there was no blood-brain.
Yeah. Perfect. Your TMAO levels were high. Are you familiar with TMAO?
I did look it up, but at this point I don't remember.
TMAO is an inflammatory marker that's devastating for blood vessels. It destroys blood vessels. And TMAO is made by your gut bacteria when you ingest foods that have high amounts of choline in there.
Choline?
Choline, yeah. So those include some of the things you're on in a ketogenic diet, most likely beef, pork, and fish.
But also, let me ask you this. I had been on phosphatidylcholine for quite a while.
Yeah. Phosphatidylcholine, fish oils, like the fish oils you're taking, is probably not a good idea. And this is something we need to keep checking on, because your TMA levels alone can cause a lot of damage to your blood vessels. Okay.
So that should make an impact to the diet we're going
Yeah.
to.
Like right now, we want your homocysteine lower somewhat, but we definitely want your TMA levels to go down. There's a lot of inflammatory destruction that takes place with this. This is a free radical that is very specific to destroying the blood vessels. Okay. If you get a chance, keep reading up on TMAO. You can see there's a lot of interesting research on it and learn more about it as much as you can. But this is one of your variables of trying to get your blood vessel health under control. Okay, I'm going to get this TMAO down. All right. With the ketogenic diet you were doing, were you eating a lot of red meat and pork and fish?
Not well, to the regular amount, I would think, but perhaps because the carbohydrates were reduced more than usual than before, and this perhaps is the reflection.
Okay. We'll come back to this and figure out what we need to do, but it's a concern. Okay. And then the rest of your profile, I checked neurofilament light chain. This is a marker for brain inflammation. I want to see if your brain was actively inflamed.
I was interested in talking to you about this marker.
Yeah, and this is normal. So we don't see any acute brain inflammatory responses happening right now, which is good.
Let me ask you here then. So how come I have this constant headache that just goes up and down and is just debilitating right now? What?
Yeah.
I always thought it was brain inflammation, but you're saying it is not.
Yeah, so most headaches are really just spasm of blood vessels. They're not basically brain inflammation. The brain itself has no pain fibers. So even if you had lots of inflammation in the brain, you don't feel pain. What causes the headache pain is your blood vessels constricting. So it's more of a vascular tone issue than it is brain inflammation. Now, if this neurofilament was high, we'd go, oh my God, the brain has vascular injury and chronic inflammation. And we really have to be very aggressive for the chronic inflammation part of it. You probably still have some inflammation, but it's not severe. This lets us know it's not severe.
Okay, I do want to beg you to look into that whatever muscle spasm or whatever, because it is a very debilitating symptom.
What is it? The what?
Whatever gives me the headache.
I understand. I understand. Yeah, to be honest with you, there could be so many variables. It's not like it's going to be very clear to figure out. We're going to have to just keep having you try things and see what happens. It's not like headache. Oh, you need this one thing. But we have some things we have to do for your blood pressure anyways that may help you with your headaches because your blood pressure still is running high. Okay. But we'll get to that here. Let me just finish going over your lab results so we can be on the same page. And then we checked you for allergens. We're worried about environmental triggers for your brain, for inflammation and some of your symptoms here. Allergens in the area you live in. There were nothing serious, nothing significant showed up. You don't have any allergens triggering your current inflammation or symptoms. And I checked your histamine levels to see if you have any kind of, these mast cell overactive responses or things that may be related to that. And they're within normal reference range.
I want to talk here, if I may.
Sure.
So I did some testing before with IgG molds, and Dr. Parker told me at the time it was her that I did that testing, that though many of them were elevated, that was not a concern, and I'm not quite sure because I do have this running nose when I'm outside in the fall, in spring, I mean in the forest and everything, and I do not have a good explanation unless we do.
Yeah, I remember from your history we were going to look at your environmental issues because you have when you're walking out in the forest and all those things, but we're not seeing any allergens there. But these are IgE allergies. You could have IgG responses where you have an inflammatory response, but it's not a true allergy. I
think we did this one to kind of try and figure out what causes this endless mucus coming from, and I forgot what somewhere I do not know, somewhere the sinuses, the dental x-ray doesn't catch, somewhere up high, it says on the brain.
Okay.
I do not remember whether it's mucus thickening.
Okay.
So obviously mold allergies is not what is causing this mucus. So I guess we have to look somewhere else. So we want to think what else.
Right. So let's look at your Genova profile here. This is basically showing all your essential fatty acid levels are good. You're just low in gamma DGLA, dihomogamma-linolenic acid.
And this is the one I actually have a part in that document I shared with you. I have a very thorough analysis I did a while ago on this, and I understand that this is the fatty acid that is, how do you call it, helps resolve inflammation. And I could not figure out why I have I like this. It is very notable, and I was listening to your interview with Dr. Larson, and I agree with you that it is not just the intake of the fatty acids, essential fatty acids, that shows you this deficits, because my husband just did similar lipid panel, and everything is fine. And we eat the same diet. He's working from home.
Yeah, but it's not that simple. Also, your physiology has different requirements than his physiology based on underlying conditions and how you process prostaglandins. So, in any case, your DHEA is low, and all the downstream effects are low. So we do want to increase your like evening primrose oil, maybe get some blackcurrant seed oil. So that's what we see with the lab test. Now, let me also go through here with your blood pressure readings. Okay. So let me tell you what we've learned so far is you don't have enough ketogenic adaptation to do anything with autophagy and intermittent fasting. That's okay. That's what we know right now. Your blood pressure readings are somewhat normal. Then at nighttime, they get a little bit high. Bedtime, a little bit high. Dinner time, a little bit high. Do you know why you're seeing this trend at nighttime?
Let's analyze. So during all this recording of my blood pressure, there has never been 155, 165 like it was in your office,
Yeah.
right? So there is a reason for that. What I suspect is like my pattern in the day, I am somewhat stronger in the morning. Then as the day is progressing, I'm getting less and less well capable. And in the evening, I'm just, okay, take everything, leave me alone. And to function, I have to get into sympathetic state to keep me going. Even if I just lie down on the couch, which happens most of the time, right? So my suspicion is that to function, I need to recruit sympathetic drive to give me strength, to pump adrenaline. And this is what increases my blood pressure. And to come to your office, it was an extraordinary effort for me. And the day you look at the blood pressure right after I came back, it was still pretty high for quite a while, couple of days, I think. And then it kind of like normalized. And then as these signature attacks, like this couple last weeks, like I got worse and worse, the blood pressure also increased. Am I right?
Yeah.
So for me to function with all what is going on in my body,
Okay.
I need to be in sympathetic, which drives blood pressure. This is how I explain it to you.
Okay. So let's talk about a couple things here. They're really important. Okay. First of all, yes, anytime you're in a clinical setting, your blood pressure can be falsely elevated. We had a reading in the office, but this is why we want you to journal it. Okay. Now, when you look at your days before, earlier days, even though you had some nighttime elevations of blood pressure, ultimately with blood pressure does go up when you're under stress throughout the day and then comes back down. And the biggest concern is an average throughout the day when you're looking at your blood vessel, per risk and so forth. Okay. Now, towards when you're getting into signature attacks, because these signature attacks, we have to figure out, is it happening because your inflammatory response is activating these glial cells that could have been injured? Or is it happening because your blood vessels are starting to have trauma? And blood pressure is the most common way to cause trauma there. So you get a little burst, boom, boom, boom. Okay. So if we look at your history here, we can look at your blood pressure readings. And here's when everything, like starting November, your blood pressure readings are not doing so good. Coming back from ultrasound, I mean, your stress resiliency is not so good, meaning your body can't handle much stress. And when your body can't handle stress, your blood pressure goes up. Blood pressure going up is the worst thing for microvascular disease. It can cause more ruptures. I think your signature attacks are blood vessel ruptures. little tiny things. So we can see a pattern when your blood pressure's getting worse and we're starting to have signature attacks, correct?
I'm not sure
No?
because see, I can feel I'm like that princess on the pea from that fairy tale.
Yeah.
I can feel everything going on in my body so clearly, so vividly, so lovely. So I think a long time ago, I had the impression that it was something like maybe I didn't use in the terms rupturing in my brain, but there was some kind of like taste, if I can use that word, it kind of like figurative.
Mhm.
But after you told me rupture, I think this is what I feel from time to time.
Okay.
But at that time, I do not have any neurological impairments coming together, nor do I have signature attack together. Signature attacks so has long been no has been a long time. I've been dealing with them more than 2 decades. I can tell you clearly, this is a sign that my body is in distress. Not always I can understand what puts it in that distress. I know it is clearly stress
Mhm.
and signature attack.
Yeah, I mean, signature attack is again just the term you're using for your symptoms, right? So, do you remember? My impression is your signature attacks are expressions of microvascular disease. That's what I think. And I actually, if you're in your summary report, I actually broke down every single symptom you have, an exam finding specific to the blood vessel branches,
Okay.
and um, every microvascular disease expression is always made worse with stress and blood pressure elevations. And at this point, that with the timeline, you, you have to figure out, like you're saying. I'm not sure if in the stage of recovery, you're so much in acute down spiral still that we have to like stop the down spiral. And I think getting in a fasting state was probably a really bad idea. With your sensitivity, now that we understand what's happening with your resiliency, because for you, the stress response to shift into ketosis wasn't fit enough, and then your sympathetics go up, and it's just something your body cannot handle. Now, there could be a potential time down the road where you get more efficient in how you use fat and become more fat adapted, and you don't have any symptoms when you go half a day without eating or something. But you're definitely not there now, and it's something we don't want to do. Let me tell you what I think we need to do right now. What we need to do right now is we got to get you out of the crisis situation more than anything else. Okay. Now, I don't know what's necessarily causing your headaches, but it's definitely there's a vascular autonomic component to all headaches that people have that then impacts the pressure in the blood vessels that then cause pain and so forth. Um, do you want to stay on ketosis or not?
I'm not sure. I'm not
It's
sure.
totally up to you. You don't have to.
I kind of feel like I want to to be stronger, to recover from this setback, and maybe think about ketogenic diet at that point.
Okay. You decide what's best for you. It's not a rule you have to be on it. We were just trying to see if we can dampen brain inflammation and see if your brain function improved with ketosis. If you don't feel like it's the right diet for you right now, we don't have to continue doing it. Okay. You don't have to decide right now. Just let me know what you end up doing. If you don't do ketogenic diet, just then stick with, a healthy, like a Mediterranean diet. That's known to be beneficial for cardiovascular disease. Lots of monounsaturated healthy fats, lots of healthy fibers, low saturated fat, your basic Mediterranean diet.
We were talking that we needed to change the diet a little bit. Uh, um, like 10, 15 minutes ago, and I already forgot what it was about. That we needed to introduce some changes to my diet.
Yes. That's because your TMAO levels are elevated. Okay. Now, what I want to do is we have to start checking your TMAO levels and homocysteine every month until we figure out what's going on. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to see if we just get you off fish oils, because fish oils can really raise your TMAO levels. So fish oils are on here. We want to get rid of your fish oils. Make sure you don't have any choline in any of your supplements.
Okay. I did stop phosphatidylcholine not too long ago, but I did.
Okay. And then if you can limit, you don't have to completely avoid 100% yet, but just limit your foods which are really high in choline, which would be beef, eggs, will be the two most common. Okay. So you're going to eat a Mediterranean-like diet. Get off fish oils, get off any choline supplements. Okay. Very sparse levels of choline foods, which are like beef and fish and beef and eggs. Okay. Some fresh fish has choline in there. Not fresh fish, I'm sorry. Seawater fish. Fresh fish like trout, catfish has very low levels of choline. You can eat it in your diet. So your best sources of fish would be freshwater fish. Okay. I'm just saying those are good sources. So switch to a Mediterranean diet, and then we'll see after you've done that for a month if your TMAO levels can go down.
Okay. I also do want to understand whether I should continue to avoid nightshades, and since lectin sensitivity has been mentioned with one of my doctors, rather more than one previous doctors, I really want to do some kind of testing, and I know Dr. does something to check that.
Sure, let's test you for lectin reactions. We'll do a panel called Cyrix Rate 10. It'll check all the lectins and all the different sources there and see if that's an issue for you. Okay.
If not, I can go off that limitation.
Let's go see what's showing up with that. Your diet, there's a point it gets so dangerous. We gotta find something for you to eat. You have so many symptoms, so many diverse things. We get to the point where you can't do anything. It's like it doesn't work that way. We have to make compromises and figure out what you can tolerate, what you can do without, the best of our choices that we have. Okay. Now, can you increase your dose of evening primrose oil?
Oh, what?
Evening primrose oil. This one right here.
Yeah.
Can you go?
If you recommend a good brand, because the one I have is
whatever you have. Just go to 3,000 milligrams a day and get rid of the fish oils.
Any of those. Okay.
Okay. So no Cyrix 10, no fish oil, increase evening primrose oil to 3,000 milligrams. And then if you can get some black currant seed oil.
In addition to...
Yeah, take like 500 milligrams. I'll email you a summary and we'll get the Cyrix test 10 ordered for you. Once we get you on a diet, your new diet, Mediterranean-free diet, I also want to add in, I want you to try again to take some things to lower your homocysteine, see if it can work for you. Have you ever, there's a product I like to use from Apex called Methyl SP. Have you ever taken that? Okay. So it has all the main cofactors to help with homocysteine pathway reduction. It was designed to lower homocysteine with the ingredients there. So we just want to take like 2 capsules a day. Let's be more aggressive in the beginning. Let's do 2 capsules 2 times a day and just see if your homocysteine levels go down. Okay. Now, the biggest thing for us right now is we got to make sure your homocysteine levels go down a little bit, your TMA levels go down a little bit. We want to get your prostaglandin balances going. We want to get your blood pressure to go down. Most of your blood pressure issues seems to be just stress related, like just too much for your body to handle. And if your resting physiological blood pressure was really always high, like you had hypertension all throughout the day, we'd want to be very aggressive doing things for that, but it seems yours is just like your resiliency to stress is difficult for you right now. Now the stuff you're taking like magnesium and nitric balance, they have natural compounds in there that normally help modulate blood pressure, but they're not going to be able to deal with stress-related blood pressure. Those compounds help increase things like endothelial nitric oxide, which help protect blood vessels, but they can't counteract the epinephrine stress response, adrenaline response that's causing them to raise. They don't counteract that. And yours seem to be related directly to that. Okay. Let me see what else we have to do here.
I do want to talk about this adrenal fatigue and stuff. I did look at your resiliency from this wellness and longevity course you just did. And yeah, for psychological and stress are off. So unless you think we do need to do another cortisol testing, I think I do need some treatment in that respect to
so the most impactful thing for these cortisol abnormalities is reducing the physiological stress response. Okay, so a big part of that is typically like blood sugar related, but
you seem to have that problem. I think.
Your biggest if you look at loss of resiliency, is psychological stress resiliency.
It is, and I did ask you a while ago during one of your presentations about this neurogenic inflammation. This is what I think I am dealing with, and you told me that there's no way to check for it.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. It's just your stress response goes up. Listen, I think your stress response increases your blood pressure. Your blood pressure has an unhealthy response to your small blood vessels. And it makes you unstable, makes you have a signature attack.
And how do we deal with this? Is this HPA dysregulation? Do I need to give them adaptogens or something?
I think we have to figure out ways for you to cognitively, psychologically deal with stress.
And what are the ways?
This is where we have to dive into the field of psychology. It's not a functional medicine approach here. Do you have you ever looked into working with someone to help you deal with stress responses?
I did. I got more stress from that than real help. Really have to have somebody that is like Dr. Karazian, has integrity about it.
It's like the entire field of, you can't discount the entire field of stress adaptation because of one bad experience. What about meditation or
I have been doing that. I have been doing Gupta program and any Hopper's program, and for a long time those meditations, the breathing techniques, and
okay, listen. You have to figure it out. You're going to have to spend some time and figure out what works for you and what you can try to figure out that you like to do that can help you psychologically respond when you're in a stressful event. Your blood pressure doesn't keep rising.
Well, I have been trying to accomplish that. So my question was, do you need to stay on any adaptogens to help me with that?
You can certainly take adaptogens if you feel like it will help you. Have you tried some before that have worked for you?
I do not know whether they worked for me. I was on rhodiola and ashwagandha.
Yeah.
And Lelsauer. I think Lelsauer helped me initially a decade.
And that's the only main field of botanicals that can help with the stress response that we know about, are these adaptogens. If you want to experiment with them, that's great. They're not going to counteract the psychological trigger of high blood pressure completely. They could just take some of the edge off. But that's still beneficial. So if you want to go on adaptogens, it's fine. Your cortisol profile, it's not going to make any difference. You get it? You're going to do adaptogens and stress modulation. If it's abnormal or normal or whatever the results are, It will not change your treatment in any way. If you want to get an updated one, we can certainly order one for you, but it will have zero impact on your treatment.
Okay, then if it's zero impact, what's the point?
Your biggest and hardest thing you're gonna have to figure out is a way to keep your blood pressure down with whatever therapy or strategy works for you, and it will do. There is no nutraceutical that's going to do that when it's like this.
Let's talk about this issue maybe next time, because the time is up, and unless you have some referral for me to
I don't have a referral for you because you have to figure out what works for you. You have to spend a little time searching what you want to try and experiment. There's definitely going to be some trial and error. Whether for some people it's meditation, you've already done that. For some people, it's speaking to someone. For someone, it's visual imagery. For other people, it's who knows, various things. Okay, that's not my area of specialty. But if you see clear indication of your symptoms being triggered by stress, and we see microvascular disease, and we see blood pressure, and we see these patterns, it's like your culprit. It's the part that functional medicine can't address. That it's a huge part of your recovery. So, if you can invest a little bit of time into looking into that more without stressing out, like figuring out what you want to dive into without being too stressful for you. So try to go slowly, as you already know what your body responds well to. And then I'll get the Cyrix Array 10 ordered. We can check for lectins. In the meantime, get off fish oils, add in some more evening primrose oil, and we're going to add the methyl donors in to see if your homocysteine goes down. In about a month or so, after you're being on the diet, we're going to have you repeat to make sure your TMAO levels and homocysteine are going down. Our ultimate goal is to get you out of, we're no longer worried about autophagy and recovery on this for, I think we have to worry about you going downhill, the acute phase of this. So it's to figure out how to keep your blood pressure down so it doesn't skyrocket throughout the day. You can try adaptogens, whatever ones you've liked before that you've tried. There's only so many of them. There's Redalia, it's the common one, ashwagandha, you can't take as nightshades, and Panax ginseng, Siberian ginseng, whatever ones you want to do. Okay, but play with those if you want. It can maybe take the edge off, but ultimately, if your blood pressure doesn't go down, your TMO levels are high, your homocysteine's high, I think you're gonna have significant continuous injury to your blood vessels. So we want to change that. Okay, let's talk once we get you on the diet and check your levels and go after that again. Can you send me in your email updates? Can you let me know if you're finding ways that you feel are working for you to lower your blood pressure?
That is too vast a concept. What do you mean?
Here's what I want you to do. Get a heart rate monitor. When something raises your heart rate, figure out how you can lower it. Is it breathing? Is it listening to music? Is it doing some kind of cognitive task?
You're talking about mind, body.
Mind, body. Yeah.
So I should get that device and be working with that, okay?
Whatever can bring your heart rate down. So measure your heart rate. Like when you do something stressful, like getting an ultrasound, and your heart rate goes like crazy, and you have an environmental thing.
Is heart rate, this is pulse, right?
Yeah, but your blood pressure typically correlates with your heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then just check your blood pressure. See what raises your blood pressure and see how long it sustains, and see if you can do things to lower it. Whether it's just restful breathing for a period, even if people have lots of stress and they just breathe and just like long, deep breaths in and out, they can usually see their blood pressure go down.
This is what is very strange, because my pulse is always normal.
Okay, I know. You said that, but with your blood pressure, if your blood pressure is high, you got to figure out how to get it down. So if you measure like your nighttime blood pressure and it's high, figure out how to get it down. See if you can find strategies to get it down.
Or it just goes down on its own.
Well, if you look at some of the readings you gave me, they're not.
I mean, it just fluctuates so much. It is correct that it is worse by the end of the day, but it fluctuates like by an hour, and I do not always know what raises it. I mean, I do know by the end of the day And
144 is high. 134 is high. 134 is high. 141 is high. Could you have stopped? Could you have done something to bring it down from 144 that day?
I will think about it.
Take a look at it. Here's another day. Lunchtime, 148 high, 133 high, 143 high. It's all throughout the day. Here at nighttime, dinner time, 138, bedtime, 131. That's still a few hours there. Bedtime, 157. See if you can find ways that may be impacting that. Okay, we have a lot to work through. Please don't be discouraged. Please.
My husband told me, I want to tell you that if Dr. Karazan cannot figure it out, nobody will. So you are my last doctor.
We're going to work together very diligently. Through trial and error. There's going to be ups and downs. You're still going to have secondary attacks for a long time. We just want to make sure we, first of all, get rid of the risk factors that are obvious to us, see what happens to you, and then we'll work through it. Please don't underestimate the mind-body psychoneuroimmune response. It's something we can't touch with the functional medicine approach. It's something you have to figure out what's best for you for that. But there's a direct link to your psychophysiological stress resiliency that's significantly impaired. You can only get so much out of it with adaptogens.
Yeah, I go back to your question about what was happening when these symptoms began. And it was the stress.
Yeah.
So it is a big part of what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time figuring this part out and don't know who to turn to, because people I did turn to were not helpful, and it was not a one.
The difficulty with the situation you're in, Vera, is that it's so different and unique for each person what works for them, and it's not easy to figure out for you to do trial and error to figure out works, but it's a huge component of you keeping yourself going in the right direction. Okay.
We'll work on it.
I'll send you a summary email. We'll get the test organized for you, and then we'll go from there. Let's definitely talk. Let's definitely talk in the next 6 weeks, 6 weeks or so. Okay, and not past that too long, and then go from there. Okay. Take care. So let's talk about Vera's outcome. You can see she has significant loss of psychological stress resiliency. And she asked, what can I do? What are some things you can do? And the truth is, I really don't know. It's very easy to say you should do cranial sacral, or you should do things like heart math, or you should do yoga, or you should do meditation. But in reality, patients have to kind of figure out what works for them. It's not easy to do, and hopefully, she has enough endurance and enough function to be able to pursue some things to help her. She's definitely suffering from some serious symptoms in a crisis physiological stress and vascular response pathway. But that blood pressure, it's gotta go down, because there's this direct relationship to them. It's going up, and some of these vascular mechanisms that are happening, or these signature attacks that are happening. Now, it's possible the signature attacks aren't vascular. It could be something else, but it's very, very likely that they are, with the MRI findings of microvascular disease and the clear onset of neurological symptoms that take place that are brain-based. So let's just hope that she can find a strategy that can help manage her psychological resiliency patterns that increase your blood pressure. Adaptogens may have some effect. It's probably not going to be enough. And then from a functional medicine perspective, if we can get her blood vessels and her health as stable as possible, we're probably going to need to really focus on keeping her system healthy and really more acute crisis or crisis care than we are trying to get rid of autophagy and dead cells and injured cells that can happen from microvascular disease. So we have to take it very slowly. Tell she's very fragile. She doesn't have a lot of resiliency when it comes to her physiology. And, the key thing is listening to her response with various interventions and trying to do the most we can without causing any significant ongoing stress to her system.